I've said in the past that Republican policies are designed to get American people, American citizens killed so that corporations and the wealthy elite can make a little bit more money. And last week, when the Republicans passed their budget that includes almost $1 trillion in cuts to Medicare and Medicaid in order to give $1.5 trillion worth of tax cuts to the wealthy elite, they absolutely proved my point. The budget that was passed last week, again, $1.5 trillion going back to the wealthy elite, back to corporations, going to repeal the estate tax, lower their tax rates, and all that nonsense. And they're going to pay for it by cutting health care programs for the elderly and for low-income Americans. And as we all know, what happens when you cut health care programs for people in the United States? People die. When a healthcare program is not properly funded and people are no longer able to go to the doctor when they're sick or go get medication that keeps them alive, like for diabetes or asthma or even allergies, if they can't get that medication or go to the doctor because that program does not have the funding to provide for that anymore, they will die. It's not hyperbole. That is what happens. Ask somebody with diabetes what happens if they don't get their medication. Ask somebody suffering from an asthma attack what happens if they don't get their inhaler. Ask somebody with a nut allergy or a bee allergy what happens if they have a reaction and they don't have their EpiPen. Because they all know what happens. They die. And yet that is what Republicans in this country are willing to do, that they've told us is perfectly okay. Because they want to give more money to the people who fund their campaigns. That is all this is about. That is what this is about. These tax cuts for the wealthy elite and for corporations are only happening because these Republicans think that the corporations, the wealthy, that they're going to turn around and parlay that money right back into a Republican campaign. That's why they're sentencing people in this country to die. The Republican Party is acting as one big giant death panel, as Sarah Palin would say. By telling American citizens, we're not going to fund your health care program anymore. We know you can't afford it on your own, but we're not going to bail you out. We're going to bail out corporations. We're going to bail out billionaires because for some reason those guys need a little bit more money, and you, struggling person working 2 jobs, trying to keep food on the table for your family, we're going to take everything we can away from you because you don't give shit to our campaigns. That's what they're telling the American public. They may not be saying it in those words, but that's what they mean. That's what the Republican Party stands for. And at this point, that's what anyone who supports the Republican Party stands for. If you're thinking about subscribing to our channel, I strongly encourage you to do that. But if you're not thinking about subscribing, I would encourage you to start thinking about it, and then once you're thinking about it, actually go and do it. You can see the subscribe button right there on the screen, or if you're watching on a different platform, go to youtube.com/theringoffire.